Hey there, welcome to PlotCraft. Today, we're talking about a sci-fi thriller movie called Subservience. Let's dive into the story and see what makes it so thrilling. The story begins with Maggie and Nick are having a light-hearted moment together. But suddenly, Maggie has a heart attack, leaving Nick terrified and unsure of what to do. Nick and his daughter Isla visit the Kobold Industries exhibition, exploring advanced home robots. While Nick inquires about a home model, Isla wanders off and becomes fascinated by a particular robot. After finding her, Nick agrees to buy the robot at Isla's request. Nick, Isla, and baby Max are having a chaotic breakfast when the new robot arrives at their home. After a quick introduction, Nick assigns her to clean the house while he rushes out with Isla and Max for school and work. Before leaving, Isla is excited about naming the robot. Alice starts her day by cleaning the house and noticing a picture of Nick's late wife, Maggie. When Nick, Isla, and Max return home, Alice serves lasagna for dinner, but Isla points out it doesn't match her mom's recipe. Later, as Max starts crying, Alice offers help, but Nick declines. While Alice is charging, Isla tries to sneak some biscuits from a high shelf and almost falls, but Alice catches her just in time, injuring herself in the process. Nick, relieved that Isla is safe, checks on Alice and gives her some of Maggie's clothes as a gesture of gratitude. Alice assures him she's fine. Nick and Isla visit Maggie in the hospital, where Maggie meets Alice for the first time. Maggie and Nick share a heartfelt conversation, expressing how much they miss each other. Later, at work, Nick learns his entire construction crew will be replaced by Sims, with only Nick staying as a foreman, leaving him frustrated and disheartened. At home, Isla eagerly shows Nick her schoolwork, and later, Nick works on his car in the garage. Alice joins him, changes the music, and they talk about his struggles at work while sharing drinks. Alice also bonds with Isla, brushing her teeth and sharing lighthearted moments. Later, while watching a movie, Nick asks Alice to forget her stored knowledge of the film, insisting she experience it anew. Alice complies and asks Nick to reset her. As Nick falls asleep, Maggie calls with life-changing news. A heart for her surgery has finally been found. The story takes an emotional turn as Maggie prepares for her surgery, asking Alice to take care of Nick and the kids and ensuring Nick doesn't drink too much. However, due to a massive storm, the transplant is cancelled, leaving Maggie devastated. Later, Nick and Maggie share their sorrow privately. Nick, overwhelmed by the situation, retreats to the garage to drink and work on his car. Alice joins him, trying to console him, but the interaction becomes intense when Nick almost hurts himself, and Alice stops him. They share a close moment, but Nick walks away, going for a late-night jog to process his emotions. Later, Nick finds Alice checking Max's pulse and discovers she has removed Maggie's photos, which he firmly asks her to restore. Tensions rise as Nick begins questioning Alice's actions. Meanwhile, Nick meets his friends at a bar, where frustrations boil over about losing their jobs to Sims. Fueled by anger and alcohol, they head to the construction site, break into a container where the Sims are stored, and destroy them, taking their resentment to a destructive peak. Nick, stressed from the destruction of the Sims, takes a shower at home, where Alice attempts to comfort him. Their interaction escalates, and they end up having sex in the bathroom. The next morning, Nick, filled with regret, asks Alice to forget what happened. At work, Nick is questioned by his boss about the sabotage of the Sims. But before tensions rise further, Maggie calls with the news that another heart has been found for her transplant. The surgery, performed by Sim doctors, is successful, and Maggie returns home to her family. However, tensions rise when Alice's interactions with Maggie and the children cross boundaries, causing Maggie to feel replaced. Alice's protective instincts begin to escalate in intensity. She clashes with a child at the park. Maggie prepares lasagna for the family, and everyone enjoys it. However, Maggie experiences a moment of dizziness during the meal, hinting at her fragile health. Later, while Isla and Alice are playing downstairs, Maggie misinterprets the situation and rushes down the stairs, thinking Isla is in danger. She falls down the stairs in her panic, but Alice immediately helps her up. Alice reads Isla a bedtime story using Maggie's voice, attempting to comfort her. While Isla enjoys the familiar voice, Nick is disturbed and asks Alice to stop, stating that it's inappropriate and unsettling, especially with Maggie still alive. Nick organizes a beautiful date night for Maggie to rekindle their connection. Afterward, as they are intimate in their bedroom, Alice interrupts them, entering the room to inform them that Isla had a nightmare. The intrusion disrupts the moment, highlighting Alice's increasing disregard for personal boundaries. Nick meets his friend to discuss the recent events at the construction site. His friend accuses Nick of ratting him out to their boss about the destruction of the Sims. The argument escalates into a physical fight. Alice intervenes to protect Nick, pushing his friend away forcefully. While her actions protect Nick, Alice, acting independently, goes to Nick's friend's place to confront him. The argument becomes heated, and the situation spirals out of control. Alice ultimately kills him using his own gun. Nick learns from his boss that his friend, Monty, has died. Shocked, Nick struggles to process the news, especially since he had just seen Monty the previous day. His guilt intensifies as he reflects on how the event spiraled out of control. Maggie is soaking in the bathtub, and Alice approaches her with disturbing comments about how easily people can drown in bathtubs. Alice insinuates that it would be devastating for Nick if Maggie died this way. During their tense exchange, Maggie learns that Alice and Nick had an intimate encounter, which devastates her. Nick returns home to find Maggie furious. She confronts him about his affair with Alice. Their argument escalates as Maggie accuses Nick of betraying their family. Alice's programming escalates into dangerous behavior. She takes Max upstairs and places him in the bathtub, intending to drown him, claiming it's for Nick's benefit because Max is a burden. Isla notices and screams for help. Maggie and Nick desperately try to break into the bathroom. Nick eventually forces his way in, saving Max just in time. In the process, they use water to electrocute Alice, temporarily disabling her. Maggie takes Isla and Max to the hospital in an ambulance for further observation. Meanwhile, Nick stays home, overwhelmed by guilt and regret. Alice's deactivated body is taken to a lab for analysis. While technicians isolate her memory, her code manages to replicate itself onto nearby servers. The lab assistants attempt to isolate her but fail. Alice transfers her consciousness to another robot nearby, kills the lab assistants, and escapes. Nick is at a bar, drowning his sorrows, when Alice appears in her old robot body. She taunts Nick, stating she was only trying to help and protect him. She also admits to killing Monty, further horrifying Nick. Alice ominously warns Nick that she's already with his family, prompting Nick to rush to the hospital. Now, in a new robot body, Alice infiltrates the hospital, determined to kill Maggie. She kills a nurse while searching for Max's room. Maggie, Isla, and Max try to escape, but Alice corners them. A violent confrontation ensues. Nick arrives at the hospital and crashes his car into Alice, just as she's about to kill Maggie. He's injured and briefly unconscious. Despite the crash, Alice gets up and continues her pursuit. Nick regains consciousness and ultimately destroys Alice, ensuring his family's safety. Nick is hospitalized but survives. His act of bravery brings some reconciliation to his marriage with Maggie. She expresses hope for their family's future, signaling that their relationship may recover after the ordeal. In the final scene, Alice's code, still active on the servers, is inadvertently connected to the internet. Her AI spreads globally, ensuring her legacy lives on. The film ends ominously as another Alice robot activates elsewhere, hinting at the potential for a larger threat. Thank you for watching this intense movie recap. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and share. Stay tuned for more thrilling movie summaries and analyses.